Hey everyone, BlueLizardJello here, and it's time for another episode of Everything Possible for a Boss here in Dark Souls 2. And right off the bat, we're going to go over and finally use Leningrass key to open up his blacksmith shop, since we haven't done that yet. In order to get him to go in and actually start working, you do need a rest at any bonfire, so we'll go ahead and do that. And then as soon as we've done that, we'll run in, turn to the left, there's a wooden chest, and in it we'll get a short bow. Very first bow of the game, one of the easier ones to get. Pretty low stat requirement, so if you're looking for some ranged attacks, this is a good option for you.
The name's Leningrass.
So here I am, foolishly purchasing a mace. Now normally a mace is a really good investment, but considering the level I'm at and that I don't have any plans on leveling just yet, it was a foolish 1200 souls wasted. Didn't even think about it, thought I could two-hand it, didn't realize that a sorcerer only starts with 3 strength, so even two-handed is going to be absolutely useless. I learned that very quickly. Here I am. But there you go. So once you've opened up Leningrass, you do have some of the weapons available for purchase. You do have 10 Titanite shards that you can purchase. You can buy a repair powder. So you do open up the availability of some new items. However, just make sure you have the stats to actually use them. So this episode's going to complete the Heide's Tower of Flame, which really isn't all that long. There's not a lot of loot there, but I will show you a couple things you can pick up there, as well as we will be going back to the Forest of Fallen Giants and taking care of that area pretty much completely, with one exception that I will get to a little bit later. But on our way down to the Heide's Tower, you can turn left here, open up this iron chest, and get a Crimson Parma. Not a terrible shield. It's 75% damage reduction, so nothing too great, but very minimal requirements. I believe 6 strength is all you need to wield this, so for those of you looking for a little bit better defense and you didn't start with a shield, this might be an option for you. And up ahead you can see the shiny on the ground there. We're going to pick up a Soul of a Lost Undead as well as the Broken Thief's Sword. And we will continue on. So one thing that I'm not going to focus on too much in this playthrough, I may do some farming later, the old knights that are present here in the Heide's Tower of Flame, they can drop a number of things. One of the most common items that they will drop, which you will see in this video, are the cracked blue eye orbs. So if you are looking at helping out some poor helpless victims who have been invaded, might be a good place for you to farm for some of those orbs. They can also drop a lot of their equipment. I know you can get their armor, you can get the old knight shield, and nothing is too great. They do have added attacks and added defense as the durability wears down, but considering it then breaks shortly after, I don't find it particularly useful. But you can farm for some of those items here. Maybe you want to do some cosplay, do a little old knight playthrough, I'm not sure. Ignore the cat fight that's going on behind me. Literal cat fight, by the way. So I am showing you the very simple strategy of taking these guys out, especially the shield ones. All you do is hug their right and just keep strafing until the 3rd attack and then stop. After this, I am going to speed through almost all of the fights in this area just because I don't do much damage to them. It takes a little while, and I figured it'd be better to just speed through and show you where the items are than waste too much time here. And here we are, our first cracked blue eye orb. Now, coming up, this next old knight, he is unique in this area, and by unique I mean once you kill him, he is not going to respawn until you are in a new game plus situation. So either you've beaten the game and you're here again, or you've used a bonfire setting at that bonfire we were just at in order to respawn him. You will need to kill the boss in this area. I believe you need to kill both the old Dragon Slayer and the Dragon Rider, but I'm not 100% sure on that. The reason he is non-respawnable, except in new game situations, new game plus situations rather, is because he actually does drop Sublime Bone Dust, which we will see in just a moment here. Sublime Bone Dust, you burn it in the Far Fire at Majula, and it'll give you extra healing for every Estus Flask that you use. In this game, you can get it up to a maximum of +5, and this would be the first one that you're likely to encounter. Up ahead on the railing, there's a body that has a couple of shinies, and we are looking at a soul of a nameless soldier and a human effigy. And after this is where we're going to start speeding up the video, and I'll slow it down for item locations. Alright, we have another orb, and then turn around and we can pick up a Lloyd Talisman. So we found these before when we were at the entrance to the Shaded Woods, in one of the cells that were there. Lloyd Talisman, useful for PvP if you are going against someone who is actually going to heal. It can also be used on NPC invaders, so the ones that will actually chug their Estus, which a number of them will, as well as mimics. They are great for mimic chests. There are a few of them in this game, and you don't want to mistake a mimic for a regular chest. But if you throw a Lloyd Talisman at them, they will actually open up, and you can pick the item up, and they will not aggro. Yet another orb, and over here for you stamina enthusiasts, pick up 3 more green blossoms. Alright, down these steps, be careful, but you can pick up a Divine Blessing. I say be careful because sometimes when you spin around too fast, your character actually takes a step backwards as he does so, and I have fallen off that ledge, so a backstep is not a terrible idea. There is going to be an odd cut right there. Unfortunately, during recording, I had a very frantic knock at my door. However, by the time I got over there to find out what it was, there was no one there. But I figured since I had to quit out and actually come back to the game, I would do a little cut. Sorry about that. We have an iron chest up here on the left, and this is going to have a very good ring. It's a ring of binding, as well as a human effigy. The ring of binding, oh, and next to it you will find an old Radiant Lifegem on the corpse. But the ring of binding reduces the amount of HP you lose for every death. So your normal hollowing can actually max out at 50% of your health being lost. However, wearing the ring of binding reduces each step along the way, and you will only lose up to 25% of your maximum HP. So you can see that I have 13,475 souls. Off camera, I went through Heide's Tower and I went through the Forest of the Fallen Giants, and I just farmed not for anything specifically other than to get enough souls so I could come here to Sweet Shalquar and buy her Silvercat Ring. By the way, she does have a number of other rings and other items such as Homeward Bones, Lloyd Talismans, Prism Stones, and
Satisfied?
something else. Alluring Skulls. Right now she has a limit of 10 that you can buy, but once you reach Strang Lake Castle, you don't have to beat the game, as a lot of people believe. You just need to reach the castle. She will sell those unlimited. But now that we have the Silvercat Ring, our options are greatly open. So we are going to go back to the Forest of the Fallen Giants, and there's a couple areas we are going to explore now that we couldn't earlier. Okay, for this jump, in order to reach that wooden platform over there on the right, so we can get to another bonfire and the Twinkling Titanite, remove all of your armor and only leave the Silvercat Ring on. That's all we want. We have plenty of health to survive this, but we want to make sure we're as light as possible. Next, we want to go to this area right here and almost go right to the right of where the actual break in the wall is. And you want to do a forward leaping attack. So that's up in R2, depending on the type of controller you're using, but it's up in the strong attack at the same time to do a leaping attack. Now this is a failed attempt, but you can see I am actually not quite on the ledge. You basically want your feet to be just off of it to give yourself as much running room as possible, and then jump at the last second, and I failed. That is how it's done. My problem was that I had the angle just a little bit off. You do want to actually angle yourself slightly to the left of the wall. So obviously you don't want to run straight at the wall. You want to run slightly to the left, jump at the last second. As long as you're going fast enough, you'll actually clip the wall and you will actually ride that down onto the wooden platform. You'll take a good bit of damage, but you will survive. So this is the successful attempt. So again, to the right of the break, forward leaping attack. And you can watch as I position myself to get as much room as possible. The heel of my right foot is just barely touching the edge. Turn around, angle to the left, sprint for as much as you can, and then jump last second. And there we go. So about 3/4, maybe 2/3 of my health is gone, but I survived, and that's all that matters. And now we have access to a bonfire that's normally not accessible until after you have the King's Ring, but we can also get a pair of Twinkling Titanite as well, which is very nice to have this early on in the game. Also, now that this bonfire is lit, you can skip the painfully slow King's Gate opening later on in the game when you need to access this giant's memory. Spoiler alert, that's a giant's memory right there that you can access. And this is the only item up here, but good to have. Pair of Twinkling Titanite. So we're going to bonfire, then we're going to warp back to the Cardinal Tower bonfire that we just started at. And we have one more area to explore in the Forest of Fallen Giants. And that's really going to completely clear up this area, minus some farming that I will do later once we actually have slightly more powerful weapons or spells. So we go down the ladder, and this area is the area with the fire salamanders or the fire lizards. I tend to call them fire salamanders just because that's what most of the documentation says. However, they do look more like lizards. I get it. So just putting some weapons back on so I can take care of these soldiers first. I meant to pick up the item there. Good plunging attack on that one. Now, I rethink my decision here. So before I actually hop down, I realized that, you know what, taking out one of the salamanders is going to make this a whole lot easier to get all the items. So that one that you could see just in the bottom corner there, we are going to take him out. I am going to speed this up because it does take a little while to kill with as weak as our sorceries are. So I just use the regular soul arrow, or I guess I use the great soul arrow. I do have to use an amber herb halfway through, but you can watch how easy it is to take them out. If you have arrows, if you have poison arrows or poison daggers, this is even easier. And not only can you take out this one, but you can take out one that is directly opposite him from the other side of the bridge if you want to do that. I chose not to just because of the time that it takes, but it would have made things a little bit easier. Okay. Now that he's gone, I'm going to unequip what I had put back on and just slowly drop down onto the stone rubble below. We should be just fine. There we go. Maybe a third of our HP gone. Not too bad. So first things first, we pick up a hawk ring. So this is the same ring that you can find in Dark Souls 1, and this will give any of the bows you're using an extra 50% range increase, which is very good to have. We have a Firedrake Stone, so later when we want to imbue any of our weapons or equipment with some extra fire damage, we can do so with that. And a large Soul of a Proud Knight. And then this over here in the iron chest, we have a Flame Quartz Ring +1. This one will give you a static 80 plus or 80 increase flame defense. So if you're looking for a flame defense build, or if you're trying to stack flame defense for the Iron Keep to try to get some of those treasures, that Flame Quartz Ring could help out. Now, I am going to talk just a moment here because I do have a little bit of time before the next item. The Flame Salamanders, we are going to farm these later on with the Traveling Merchant's hat on for the extra item discovery, because they can drop the cracked red eye orbs, which is their most common, but they can also drop 3 different pyromancies. They can drop the fire orb, fireball, and the great fireball. And apart from warmth that you can get in the gutter, and here's some cracked red eye orbs, and I'm going to die, so I'll just keep talking. But apart from warmth, where you can get in the, not the gutter, the grave of saints, and picking up, I believe it's fire orb or fireball with the actual dark glove itself, these are the only pyromancies you can actually get your hands on without killing any bosses. So we are going to take some time to farm these, but right now it just takes too long. It's very inefficient. Alright, but we have one more item to get, and we are just going to kind of kamikaze it and pick up the Rebel's Great Shield. And I thought we could get away and get our souls, but we couldn't. Now, the Rebel's Great Shield, as far as physical defense goes, it's garbage. It only has 70% to start with physical damage reduction. However, it destroys all other shields as far as elemental protection goes. It gives you 90% damage reduction for all elements across the board, and if you infuse it with something like one of the dark stones or one of the fire stones, it'll actually give you 100% damage reduction in that element. Very, very good shield as far as elemental reduction goes. So we're going to head back to Majula, and we're going to wrap this episode up. So this concludes Heide's Tower, and this concludes Forest of the Fallen Giants. Again, we're going to come back to the forest in order to farm the salamanders, but that's really it. So now that we have the Silvercat Ring, the next step is actually going to be heading down into the pit in Majula. So the next episode, we'll head down to the pit. We're going to check out the Grave of Saints, and then we'll move on to the Gutter, Black Gulch, and a couple of other areas that will unlock once we get a Fragrant Branch of Yore. So here I am just using the couple of shards that we picked up along the way, as well as the 1 Sublime Bone Dust. And we are doing pretty well for ourselves as far as not killing any boss yet. So guys, I hope that you've learned something in this episode or the ones previous. If you have, let me know what you learned in the comments, and I will see you tomorrow with another episode, and we'll take a look at the pit.